All right, up to this point, I probably haven't covered anything that has been that unique. However, some of the next things that we're going to talk about may be the first time you've ever heard some of the concepts, some of the ideas I'm going to share with you next. And the reason for that is we didn't find a lot of these things in sales certification courses that we've been through or books that we've read. Most of this was found in the street. A lot of years of trial and error, talking to literally thousands and thousands of small business owners to be able to really get a better understanding of what will work percentage-wise the best versus what doesn't work in terms of a good, solid sales approach. And in a sense, I think you could say they actually trained us on the best ways to interact with them. And here's what I mean by that. And in order for this to be as meaningful as possible, please, in the next couple of minutes, be as honest with yourself as possible with some of the questions that I'm about to ask. So the first question I'm going to ask you is going to be this. Do you use a one-size-fits-all approach? Now let me be more specific. If your sales rep is calling on a dentist, or they're calling on a landscape contractor, or they're calling on a retail store, do they have basically the same solution to offer all of them? And that might seem a little strange in terms of the question, but think back on the last slide. If we're going to do it the right way in terms of making the right sale, that means you're matching a solution to a need. So do they all have the same needs? They might not, so it's something to consider. All right, and then the second thing, and we'll talk about this in more detail in a few minutes, do they identify the styles of each of the different business owners well? And what I mean by that is, you already know, everyone has a different style. We're not all the same. Some people buy more on emotion, some people buy more on facts and statistics. We'll talk about that, but that comes into play in terms of the sales call and how that interaction goes between sales rep and customer, or business owner in this case. And do they already know what they want to sell each customer before they pick up the phone or before they walk into their place of business? Have they already said, okay, you're a plumber, so you're going to get the plumber solution, versus you're a landscaper and you're going to get the landscaper solution, or you're a dentist and you're going to get a dentist solution? One of the things that we might even argue too is that a plumber is not a plumber is not a plumber. They're all different if you really get to know them and you do your needs analysis properly. This can make the call somewhat difficult for the sales rep also, based on some of the internal things you as an organization may be doing in terms of setting up what you want them to sell. We'll talk about that in a few minutes too. And then, do you already know how they're going to, does each sales rep know how they're going to handle each objection? So for an example, what if a business owner said to you that, look, as far as what you have to offer me, I'm just not interested. How will your sales rep respond? Do they already know what they're going to say in those cases? What if they're an existing client and they say, you know I'm spending X amount of dollars with you, but we want to cut that in half? Do they know how they're going to handle that? What if they're an existing client and they say they want to cancel everything completely? Do they know how they're going to handle that one? And there's all different types of variations of these kinds of things that come up in the sales call process. Many times they happen right in the beginning of the call, during the call opening step, as we talked about before. Are your sales reps ready? Do they know how they're going to handle that? Do they stumble through that part? Are they confident? We're going to spend some time talking about this, because if they can handle some of these things that we're going to talk about in the next few minutes, we believe that we can dramatically increase your opportunity for success in terms of these sales interactions. And then finally, what about telling versus asking? Do they start out that conversation by telling the client how great they are, or how great their company is, or how great your products or services are? And how does that work out? Or do they start out by asking? Is it a combination of both? We've seen everything, as you can imagine, with the thousands and thousands of sales calls that we've observed over the years all over the world. We'll talk about these different elements of the sales call and what can make things kind of go sideways really right after hello, and how to avoid some of these common pitfalls. And then, of course, where does the sales call go from there? So hopefully you believe that this is real life up to this point. These are some of the things that your sales reps deal with on a day-to-day basis. And what we're going to talk about next, we're going to make this as real life as we can. What happens when they call on that business owner that just doesn't have a lot of time for them and wants them cut to the chase very quickly? All right, do you recognize this guy? All right, we picked this guy out as kind of a caricature of the typical type of, let's say, small business owner that may scare your sales reps the most. By the way, he shouldn't. And you may look at this type of an individual and say, wow, he looks like he's pretty upset, or could be in a bad mood, or he could be kind of a mean guy. It may not be any of those things. He may just be frustrated. And when I mean frustrated, it might be because of the fact that In any given week, think about it, a small business owner may get anywhere between 10, 15, maybe even 25 or more salespeople calling on them, and in his mind, they all have one thing in common. You probably already finished the sentence for me. They all want his money. All right, they're all trying to talk to him or call him or walk in and let them know that they have got something in terms of a product or service that he should have. Now, they probably do a great job of explaining what their company is all about, the purpose of why they're there, explaining some of the features and benefits of their product. But here's a more important question I'd like to ask you. Do you notice the dotted blue line that's going right down the middle of this guy's head? The question I want you to ask yourself honestly is, what percentage of your salespeople ever get to the right side of this dotted blue line? Let me be more specific. What percentage actually get to know this guy well enough to understand what his issues, his concerns, his problems, his objectives, his needs might be? Now, many sales forces would like to think that the majority of their sales reps do go out there and are able to get to know this business owner well enough to be able to really fully understand that so that they can match a solution to the need. If we go back to the second slide for a second, one of the things I think all of us were probably in agreement with up to this point is that your sales reps are trying to follow an established sales call process, which means that there is a planning step, a call opening step, a needs analysis step, and then a solution step. But did they really get, percentage-wise, most of them get past that dotted blue line to the right and understand those? This is where it will be important for you to be honest. Now, our findings are this. We work with companies throughout the U.S., almost every major city in the United States, Canada, and Europe, many major companies in Europe, and our findings have been this up to this point, and none of our clients have disagreed with us, that less than 20% of the sales reps throughout the world that we work with are ever able to successfully go past the right side of this dotted blue line and really understand that. Now, some people watching this right now say, well, you know, that's true, but this is not an easy guy to deal with. He knows when we're calling him on the phone that we're trying to sell him something. So, as we jokingly talked about earlier, he doesn't know that there's 5 steps to the sales call process, so he may try to shut this thing down after hello. So up to this point, hopefully, you're able to relate to everything you've been listening to. This is pretty real world. Anybody who's a sales rep who's called on small and medium-sized business owners knows exactly what we're talking about because you've run into countless business owners in these situations. What we were looking forward to talking to you about next are some of the things that we found in the real world that will resonate and work the best when you either pick up the phone to talk to this person or you're going to stop in to see him as a sales rep. Some of the things that will help you be more successful to be able to earn his trust, gain credibility, and have better conversations to be able to find out what it is he's trying to accomplish as a small business owner and how your solutions can help them.